Welcome to today's episode of Blending Fab, a podcast all about relationships where we explore expectations and lessons learned along the way. To keep up to date with what's coming up, be sure to follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Let's get straight into it.
All right, hey Khareema. First question. Did you always want to be a mom?
Did I always want to be a mom? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I never wanted to be a mom.
We thank you for your honesty. Why do you think you didn't want to be a mom though?
I just didn't see that in the cards for myself. I didn't grow up like loving children. That didn't come until my adult years when I started having a love for children.
Okay. So when you found out you were pregnant, how did that go?
Um, It was weird because while I never wanted to be a mom, I wasn't scared.
Hmm.
I wasn't nervous. My only feeling of nervousness was telling my mom. But as far as being pregnant, I was okay with it. I was wishing that it hadn't happened how it happened, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was okay.
Got it. Let's talk about that process of telling your mom because that could be really scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want our moms to judge us. We don't know what they're going to say, let alone to be a father.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do to my baby type situation, right? So,
Right.
in telling your mom, how was that process? What made you scared and how was it received when you did tell her?
So let me start by saying my mother was a teen mom, right?
Okay.
Um, when I got pregnant, I was 20. Um, my mother was like very overprotective, very mean at times.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't like a mom I can go talk to about anything, right?
Okay.
So I was nervous because I knew I couldn't talk to her about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 3 months when I told my mom I was pregnant,
Okay.
and I just called her like I have something to tell you. No, I told her I had bad news,
Mm.
and she said, "What's the bad news?" I said, "I'm pregnant." She said, "Oh, girl, that ain't no bad news." And that was that. Like it wasn't like a long extended conversation. That was that.
Okay. So I'm gonna work reverse because there's three things you said that stood out. First, bad news. Why did you portray it to be bad news?
Because like I said, I never wanted to have children.
Okay.
So I was dealing with it. I was
Mhm.
okay. It was happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never wanted to have kids.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So even at 3 months, you still was feeling like this is bad news.
Mhm.
Got
Yeah.
you. Now, in those 3 months, that time, who was your support system to help you get there and still be okay or like learning to be okay with this unexpected?
I didn't have a support system.
Mm.
I did not have a support system. Um my boyfriend at the time, which was the father,
Hmm.
um totally not supportive. Uh,
Okay.
not not saying that he was not saying that he was upset that I was pregnant,
Hmm.
but just like a young guy, just like
Gotcha.
lost.
Gotcha.
Like he didn't care either way.
And that's pretty common sometimes when it's your first or depending on the age, you're unsure too. It's like a deer in headlights of what do I do? Where do I go?
Hmm.
This is the new norm and trying to figure this out.
Hmm.
Was his dad present for him?
He was not.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
he was
sometimes
not.
that's a factor too. If I didn't
Hmm.
have a dad, how do I become a dad?
Hmm.
Though it is possible to be a dad, it's like you don't have that blueprint though to help you to guide you in what a dad would do in this situation.
Right.
Another part you said was that you felt that your mom wasn't somebody that you could talk to. In being a mom now, you have a daughter.
Hmm.
How have you tried to combat that to be that person that your daughter can talk to?
So I've always been a person. I don't know where this comes from, but I've always been the person who, if I don't like something, I'll do the opposite.
Okay.
If I don't like how something is done, like how something is done with me, I'm going to do the opposite. I don't want that experience anymore. I don't want to give anybody that same experience.
Gotcha.
So, having a daughter, I was very, very intentional about ensuring that she can come to me, letting her know that it was okay to talk to me about anything, letting her know I'm the only person who can help you if you get in trouble. You have to talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just very, very intentional about making sure that I was approachable. I wasn't judgmental. Um, my daughter can talk to me about anything. She
Yeah.
talks too much now.
But the dopeness is that she does come to you, because if they can't come to their parents, they're going to somebody else, and God only knows what they're learning from somebody else. So
Yeah,
that's
I
pretty cool.
never had when she was ready to get a boyfriend, before she even got one. Mom, I think I'm ready for a boyfriend.
Okay.
Like we talk about everything.
Very nice. Very nice. Commendable. That is very important, to be able to have that open door for your child, because they're going through similar things to what we may have gone through, but people are handling it different than how we handled it. So it's good to be able to like point her in the right direction. What would you say are some other areas that you work to combat to be different and present for your daughter than what you had?
So my mother wasn't present. She wasn't like a present, and when I say present, I mean like not in the house.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a gift and a curse, because now I feel like that's all I want to do is be in the house. So I never wanted my daughter to feel how I felt. I felt alone, right? So my daughter was always with me. I worked at a child care center for 12 years. She grew up in a child care center. So we were very, very close. I didn't like the feeling of feeling alone. So, like I said, whatever I don't like, I do the opposite of that. So I was intentional about making sure that she didn't feel that.
Got it. And it kind of makes sense, because you said your mom was a teen mom. So, and being a teen mom, sometimes you don't know what you're getting yourself into and being a mom. And you're doing the best you know how. The child is getting what they need. So then you survive, and then you're going forth. But not knowing or acknowledging that the child needs more, and each child is different. There's some children that could have been fine with that. But with you sounds like you would appreciate her being more present sometimes. How do you feel like in adulthood now your relationship has shifted or changed?
With my mother?
Yes.
She is like, I wouldn't say a best friend, I would say a sister.
Okay.
For what it's worth, we have a good relationship. We talk daily. We have a really good relationship now.
And that's a good thing. That's a process for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you had to forgive her at any time?
Absolutely, yes.
And how was that process? Because that's a common thread too of a young lady or a young male feeling like their parent wasn't there, and getting over that hump of, okay, they did the best they knew. It wasn't always great, but here we are. Now I'm mature enough. Either I'm going to embrace them because life is short, or I'm going to let it be what it be.
So let me start by saying I didn't forgive my mom until recently.
Okay.
Like the last maybe 6 years, maybe. And I didn't do it for her, I did it for me. The process wasn't hard, because I'm always like self-reflecting. So always trying to become my best self. So I knew I had to like get past whatever gripes I had with my mom in order for me to be at peace.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hard process. And what I learned is that the feelings that I had about my mom, her feelings about herself was worse. So she was dealing with whatever she was dealing with, knowing that she could have done better. I was fine with that.
Yeah.
Because she was able to see it and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So that made it easier too.
Awesome. Communication is so important because sometimes the thoughts that you have and to find out, oh, you did feel better. Now, it doesn't happen all the times where they feel bad,
Yeah.
but to have that reassurance of, I wasn't off, you do acknowledge, that connection could have been better. Pretty cool. I like
And also, in those conversations, I also like tell her like you did what you thought was best. Just letting her know don't beat yourself up about it. You just did what you thought was best at the time, which wasn't necessarily the best for your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes we all get in that situation where we feel like the cards that we have are making the best bet. So, prime example, in the Black community, we love some spades. And in the cards you have, you're like, all right, I got 3 in the possible, not knowing that somebody else's hand is busted and thinking so. And sometimes we do have more, we have the capacity for more, but we're fearful of thinking like, maybe I can't pull it, maybe I can't swing it. So I underbid myself. And I think oftentimes in real life, we underbid ourselves of not knowing the capacity of change we can make in somebody's life if we just step out and try. This self-reflection, though, is really good. Why is that important, or why was that beneficial for you?
Because I always want to be like my best self. I want to be intentional about everything, right? So I self-reflect because I reflect on my day. If I said something to somebody that I shouldn't have said, or if I said something that I could have said better.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm always like playing my day back.
Yeah.
Playing my interactions back. I just always want to be my best self.
Yes. I get on my brother's nerves with that.
Too.
Yes, I get on my brother's nerves with that because something that happened and a day could go by and I'd be like, but this is what I meant with it. It was like, Jennifer, we have been over that. We have passed that. We had 25 million conversations since that. But really trying to be intentional, make sure you present your best self is hoping that nobody perceives it the wrong way. They are at ease with what you said. They didn't take it the wrong way. Because sometimes you could say, all right. And we know I have a lot of different meanings. And depending on that situation, they'd be like, oh, she bothered by me. She don't want to be bothered anymore. She's irritated, agitated. And sometimes it was just, all right, that's cool. So that's really important. Self-reflection is pretty cool. Okay. So raising your daughter, now your daughter is here. How was that process when she was finally born? You said she wasn't scared. Initially, it was bad news. But when did the light come like, oh, this is a great experience? If you thought it was a great experience, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Thank you. Because I didn't think initially that I wasn't having a good experience. I had a terrible experience being a mother, being a single mother. One, I never had and I tell people this all the time. I never had like that connection, like, oh, my baby, oh my gosh. I never had that. I never had that.
Okay.
I was always great at taking care of her. But I never had that like, oh my God, my baby. My baby was a cry baby.
Oh.
Up until she was about 4 years old. I'm talking about all night long, crying. So my experience wasn't a good one. It didn't become good until she got older. Maybe I'll say about 6th grade.
Wow. So at 6th grade, you're like 11?
Yeah.
10, 11? How do you feel like that affected your mental health and your interactions with others, having that feeling like you have that disconnect for so many years? 11 years is a long time.
When I was on airplane mode, when things going on in my life, I just flipped to airplane mode, like, and I can't see it until I'm out of it. So it was just like I was just doing what I had to do for that long period of time. And then again, I was working in a child care center, which is very, very stressful. I knew I had to. It was having an impact on my daughter because one day I was driving home. We would go to work. I would leave out for work at 5:30. The center wasn't far from my house, so I would leave out at 5:30. She would be with me. We would close at 6:30. So sometimes I wouldn't be leaving the center till about 7:00, 7:30. She would still be with me. I would just be so tired. One day I went home, drove home crying, and I turned to the side and she was crying too. I said, "Oh, this is enough." But it wasn't good until like, later on. I think a big part of it was removing myself from the child care center. And so because it was like highly stressful, right?
Yeah.
So I'm dealing with that for 12, 13 hours a day. Then I got to go home and deal with my daughter too. By the time it's time to go home and deal with my daughter, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I did it, but I didn't want to. So that didn't make the experience a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the truth and the realness. Some that are teachers, if they're dealing with kids all day, you don't want to then deal with kids home. It's like social workers and doctors. You'll go to even and nurses be like, all right, nurses, we need your help. I'm off. And granted, if something is of need for a nurse or a medical expertise, they'll step in. But it's like, I got to have the balance, and not having that balance can make you feel like you just a whirlwind seesaw, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So once you got out of childcare world, you feel like then the light bulb went on and the connection came a little bit better.
It became better prior to that, but like a lot of stress was removed once I was able to get out of the child care center.
Gotcha. So now you're out the child care center. You are now mommy in another identity of whatever field you then went into. How did the relationship then begin to build for you and your daughter?
I had more patience. I had more patience. She was like I said, always with me, but I was at times I could be like short. Like I said, we always had a good relationship. She always talked too much. Always talked too much. I was tired. Sometimes I didn't want her to talk at all.
Yes.
But I noticed that I had more patience. She noticed that I had more patience.
Yes.
And that was a good thing.
Gotcha. So now 6th grade to now a college student, y'all thick as thieves a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's very nice. Do you have siblings?
I have one brother.
How do you feel you got along with your brother?
It wasn't good.
Okay.
Sibling rivalry until I was about 30 years old.
Okay. Are you the younger or older?
I'm the youngest. Okay. We are 7 years apart.
Gotcha. Do you think it's because you weren't he enjoyed being an only child for so long and then you came along?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We were just like bad kids.
Bad kids. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just bad kids. We just fought for no reason. Yeah.
Okay. What has been the most rewarding in being a mom and being a parent?
Seeing how responsible my daughter is, seeing how mature she is, knowing that I can trust her word. That has absolutely been the most rewarding. Knowing that when she leave out of my doors, if whatever she say, I trust it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's big. And that goes to the relationship that you built, because there's so many, their child is telling one thing and then they're somewhere else. And people are always saying, everybody's saying their child is a good kid, but the truth is the truth. And yes, everybody has capacity to go a little left sometimes.
Oh, she told me about the bad stuff too. She if she don't do something right, if she did something wrong, she let me know.
Look, commendable, because there's a lot of kids that are not having that conversation with mama or daddy or auntie, big bro, big sis, or cuz. So again, heads up to you. That means you've done an amazing job. How would you rate yourself as a parent?
I'm gonna give myself a 9.5 out of 10.
What would take that 0.5 up a notch?
What would take that 0.5 up a notch? I gotta think about it.
Okay. But 9.5 is, pretty high, but it's also, from what you have shared, appropriate. You have a young lady that is sharing with you what's going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly, maybe talking too much, but she's making sure she keeps you in the loop because she finds you to be her person to help her. If something goes left, let me call my mom. She got me. Whether it's too much or too little, it's good. Because I was talking to a friend and she was sharing how her son was like opening up more, and she was like, I was so ecstatic that he wanted to like come out and have a conversation. Normally he's in his room playing his game. But as you're that consistent presence and you're always there for them, they know they can come to you when they need help. But for them to consistently come is that 9.5. That 9.5. So talk about parenting. Let's talk a little bit about dating. We ready?
I don't know. Sorry, come on.
So in your experience growing up, how did you view dating? We'll start there. What was your view of dating growing up?
Growing up, my view of dating.
Did you think good of it, bad of it? Or how was it supposed to go? Like your perfect world of dating?
I thought good about it. I never had like good examples, right? So it would basically just be like whatever I saw on TV.
Okay.
Like the fairy tale stuff. But in real life, I never had like anything to go off of, right? So
Okay.
I just didn't know.
Okay.
My mother, she would always be going on dates, but like I would never see her interact with men. She kept that part away from me, but she wasn't around. She wasn't present.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. So when I started dating, I didn't really know like how to I'm trying to find my words. Like I didn't have expectations. Because like I said, I didn't know what to go off. I didn't have anything to go off of other than what I saw on TV.
Yeah. Who was your go-to couples on TV?
The Winslows.
Family Matters. Was it Steve Urkel or Stefan that you liked the best?
I liked Urkel.
Yes.
I liked Urkel. The mother and the father of the Winslows, I vividly remember them. I always admired their relationship. Who else? That was one that stood out to me.
Okay. And they had healthy conversations, arguments when they disagreed. It showed you the healthy side, that it didn't have to be toxic. And toxic is different for everybody. But it was at a place where like this looks good. I could deal with this. So, in having those examples, or a lack of examples, how do you feel that translated into you actually dating?
Um, I feel like because I didn't have anything to go off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have expectations. I didn't know how to set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't know how I was supposed to be treated. Um, so my first real relationship, which was my daughter's father, was very toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like I stayed longer than I should because I just didn't know. I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have been accepting things that I was accepting.
Gotcha. How did you know to let go? Was it somebody else that told you, or you were like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's time to go?
I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm tired. It's time to go.
Now, from that experience, did you use those lessons in like your future situations? And how did they work out for you?
I did not. I
Okay.
feel like I always hold on longer than I should.
Mm-hmm.
What what um what did change is as I um got older and started coming into myself and being,
Mm-hmm.
more self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
I started setting those boundaries
Yeah.
and telling people how I want to be treated.
Yeah.
Um, I stopped tolerating as much, but I still stay longer than I think I should always.
Okay. And that's hard because it gives you comfort in a
Hmm.
sense. Like, I shouldn't be here, but uh,
Hmm.
you go topsy turvy back and forth. But a good part of that was the boundaries piece. And we all have trouble with boundaries because one, we don't know how to say no or that's enough, or even of that treated part of how to speak up for what it is that we feel we need and that we want in
Hmm.
situations and relationships and things of that sort. When you did start creating those boundaries and identifying how you want to be treated, how would you say that was received?
Um, I would say it was received well because I led with that.
Uh-huh.
Um, Whatever, I became very vocal about my wants and my needs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say I got everything I wanted or everything I needed out of every relationship,
Right.
but this is what I'm telling you I want. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you I want to be treated like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you that I need this. Um, I feel like it's been received well because that's how I lead. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship, I start out like that. I'm not quiet and then wait till mid relationship and be like, oh well, I need this. No, I start out with what I
Yeah.
want, what I
Yeah.
need.
And it proves to be very beneficial of sharing like, this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for. I was reading a post and it was sharing how this guy and girl had been together for some years, they were ready to get married, and then they're engaged and like they're supposed to get married the next month, and he's like, yeah, because I don't want any kids, and her heart just fell because they hadn't had that conversation. So like when
Mhm.
you saying like you leading with it, she
Mhm.
could have saved herself a little time of the falling in love part, which is, oh, it's so nice and how Hallmark and Lifetime puts it together. But the process to get there is a process, and then to be crushed in the
Mhm.
end. So that's dope that you start off with that because that's a conversation that needs to happen
Mhm.
before it's too
I
late.
will share talking about conversations that should happen in the beginning. I can share that it was a conversation that didn't happen in the beginning
Okay.
of a relationship, of a past relationship. Um, and it was about family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not big on family, but I have a few key people who are
Mm-hmm.
non negotiables. They come with me as a package.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the relationship, I noticed how this person was treating his family members. Um, and so I just initiated the conversation because I'm a psych major, so I'm always digging and probing.
Yeah.
So I asked him, his mother and father are older. So I said, if something ever happens to your mom and your dad, like if they get sick and they can't stay alone, would you have a problem with them living with us? He would absolutely have a problem with them living with us. So that was a red flag, because if ever is a time where my mother or my niece or my best friend needs to, come stay, it's just like a no-brainer.
Gotcha.
So that was like a red flag for me.
Gotcha. So speaking of best friend coming to stay, best friend is a female or male?
A female.
Gotcha. So there was a thing going around of a woman who's married who was saying like, no, no girls can't come stay at my house. What helps you to be secure and being okay with the best friend coming in and not being a problem?
We've been together for so long. I never had an issue, because we've always, so prior to my relationship, where I lived with someone, it was me and my best friend.
Okay.
Whenever I'm in a relationship, she's always introduced at the beginning.
Gotcha.
She just becomes a part of the relationship as well.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't even think like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not putting, thoughts or anything like that, but that's a real topic. And some people are like, can't do it. And some people are like, it's a no-brainer. But then how it comes up in communication of it being, all right, or, yeah, not a problem. Let's go with it. But again, the dopeness is that you have that conversation in the beginning so that these are non-negotiables. These are what I need. Because if we talk about this in the beginning and then 2 years in, you're like, oh, this is a problem. I told you day one.
Right. Yeah.
So you chose to stay. What changed? What happened? Who got in your ear that's causing us to now have this problem?
Right.
Speaking of that, confrontation. Because in relationships, it happens. In the dating process, it happens. And say they were great with that, but then something else comes along and it's like a spit and spat. What would be your words of advice for somebody when dealing with confrontation with their significant other?
Don't avoid it. Don't avoid it, because it builds up. So one issue builds up on top of another issue, and by the time it blow up, you barely know what you're arguing about, because you didn't you didn't address the first thing.
Yes.
So you arguing confused, because you don't even know what is the argument about. What are we doing?
Yes.
I have learned not to avoid confrontation, not to avoid difficult conversation, because it is not beneficial for anybody.
So true. It's like when you chastising a child, if they did something early in the morning and you wait to the end of the day, what happened? What did I do? Because sometimes you forget. So you definitely have to address it head on when it does come. But also avoiding it feels so much better, Khareema. Why are you telling me not to avoid it?
Because it doesn't feel good in the long run.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Because then you're like, oh, you felt this way all along. Why didn't you ever say anything? Where do we go from here? And all that other jazz. When you could just nip it in the bud in the early to find out where you're going from with it. So when you get into the honeymoon period, and the honeymoon period then fades, how would you say that adjustment is of leaving the honeymoon period? Or do you feel like people leave the honeymoon period? Or do you really stay in the honeymoon period from beginning to the end with the conflict in the middle and all that fun jazz?
I feel like with the right person, the honeymoon period does not have to end.
Okay.
And when I say the right person, um, prior to the relationship, it has to be like a good friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I feel like you could be in the honeymoon phase forever with the right person.
Mm-hmm.
With the right person, also, it doesn't have to always be a honeymoon phase. It can still be the right person. I'm not just saying.
Right, right.
um, but hmm, yeah, it doesn't have to end. And I feel, with my experience, um, I never knew where it ended at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a playful person. Um, I had good relationships with the people I was dealing with. So the honeymoon phase never really ended.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like we added like more responsibility. Um, I don't know if I'm picking my words right, but
Yeah.
so for example, prior to me living with my ex,
Mm-hmm.
we were in the honeymoon phase. We were in separate places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Separate states,
Okay.
separate houses.
Okay.
When we came together, we still had fun, but it was more responsibility. Now we have to have different conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so it wasn't like we got out of the honeymoon phase. The conversations was different. The interactions was different. Um, it wasn't all about going out to eat or going on dates anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamic changed a little bit.
Which is interesting too of the importance of knowing that. So like living separately is one thing. You
Mm-hmm.
come to my house and staying, but then you leave and go back to your house. But then when you
Everything's
come
fun.
together, wait, who's paying this? Who's cooking?
Exactly. Exactly.
The role shift, and then like they have like the wifey things of this is what a wifey would do, this is what a hubby would do. But we
Mm-hmm.
just dating, so no, it's not like that.
Right.
But when you are in that kind of situation of you're living together, essentially it does change. Like who's helping to pay the mortgage, the rent, who's
Mm-hmm.
doing the electric, the cable. Do we
Mm-hmm.
really need to add this package on? Because cable is expensive, but no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who's taking out the trash? Um, and sometimes you don't think you have to have the conversations, but you do.
You
Because
do.
if you were taking out the trash at your house, he's like, well, you were taking out trash before, why I gotta take it out now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so having those conversations are really, really important in how it shifts of gender roles and expectations because they increase.
I had to have those conversations for years and years and years. It wasn't like the conversations were ongoing. It wasn't just like one conversation at the start of us
Mhm,
living together. It was
mhm.
like the same exact conversations all the time. If I go get the water, bring it in the house out my car.
Yes,
I'm going to be the one to wash the clothes.
yes,
Stuff like that. You're not touching the clothes. I wash the clothes.
yes,
You take out the trash.
yes.
Um, but we were having those conversations constantly because it was stuff that we didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Uh, while you washing your hair in the sink downstairs, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
It's all kind of different conversations that you have to have.
And it doesn't mean that what you're doing is bad. It's just like it's just strange to them. This is
Mhm.
what you choose to do. Um,
Mhm.
the funny one used to be for couples. They'd be like, "You throw your drawers on the floor and the hamper is right there."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes it's the simplest things.
Yeah.
And if you're living by yourself, you can be a slob. But you're living with somebody else, you have to now consider them
Mhm.
and compromise.
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't want to, but for the
Sometimes
better
you
of the
have to.
relationship, for that situation that you're in, the hope is that you do uh,
Mhm.
make that compromise.
Yeah.
How important, so when somebody is dating, how important would you say it is to actually date beyond just chilling on the phone, like really going out and being intentional? What does that look like in growing a dating relationship?
How important is it?
Mhm.
I feel like it's very important because we have to learn each other, right? So I don't want to just sit on the phone with you.
Yeah.
Now I love me a good phone buddy, but I need you to court me.
Yes.
Because we gotta learn each other. Don't
Mm,
take me to the movies where we're gonna sit silent and stare at a screen. Um, I don't always want to go have lunch or dinner or breakfast. Let's go
mhm,
to the park. Let's take a walk.
mhm,
Let's go
mhm.
to the gym. Um, let's do something adventurous that we've never done before.
Yeah.
Um, and that can let's sit in the car and have conversations. Tell me something that I don't know about you.
Yes.
Um,
Well, not in these times sitting in the car, depending where you are. I'm just
not in
saying.
these times.
You used to go down to Love Park. They say you'd be out there in the dark. One is really dark out there. Um, so you want to be careful
Hmm.
because it ain't no light. You having fun out there, but uh, being safe is all I'm saying. But
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Now, ironically, at the movies, the last time I went to the movies, there was a couple not too far from me, and they was not. He was asleep first, and I heard him. I was like, "Is he sleeping?" And then it stopped. But then I realized why she didn't wake him up. Sis was knocked out too. When it was over, they
Oh
all kept trying to
wow.
I said they needed a nap, and they got it. So again, finding whatever works for you. But
Hmm.
another interesting part you said they have to court me. So in
Hmm.
court, they say that court is the intentional where you want to marry the person. So when you're dating, is that your hope that you are dating to get married?
Hmm.
Okay.
Um, if not, well, that's the hope. That's the intention.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm not gonna say but. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's the hope.
And how early should that conversation come up of that being your hope of wanting to be married?
Early,
Yeah.
early, the same at the beginning.
Yeah.
That should be right with the do you want to have kids talk.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because it is those two are like equally weighted.
Right. Right. And have such a huge impact because if you don't want to be married, you then have to evaluate: am I okay with not being married, or am I not? And not saying because people be like, we don't have to get married. We've been together all this time. Yeah, but if God forbid, you pass, there are different benefits a married person gets compared to a single person. They can make decisions. There are many people that have passed where they didn't have a will in place and they were married or whatever happened. Just make sure you got everything, or you can still be married and not have a will in place and it's like sinky. So just make sure you have your affairs in order for whatever it is that's going to happen in your life. But
So you're not in the obituary as his special friend.
special friend Khareema, I'm like, who put this in here?
Yes.
Uh, or
Um.
and that you're well accepted by the family because sometimes it's the family that's putting that in there. So if
Mhm.
they ain't like you and they like ex boo number 3,
Mhm.
she going in there a special friend, and you like this little scallywag. And then
Mhm.
we got drama at the funeral. We don't need that. It
Yeah.
happens enough. It
Yeah.
happens.
That was one of my driving forces for leaving my past relationship.
Mhm.
Um, because we've always talked about marriage, right? But what's taking you so long? It was taking a little too long.
Uh, so this is a good question too, because how long should it be? And we never, I don't want to say we never know that because we do. We do know if this relationship is going to be, is of value for us to stay in it, right?
You know when you don't want to leave someone. You
Yes.
know that pretty fast.
Yes.
If you feel like I don't want to leave this person, I don't want to be without this person,
Hmm.
it's time to get married.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily saying it has a time frame,
Right.
but you know when you want to be with someone and when you don't. You know when you want to be there for and forever, and you know when you don't want to be there forever.
Let's talk about the other side of that though. So you feel like you don't want to be without this person, then y'all get married and it goes worry.
And then it changes.
Because those expectations, right? I always say, from being friends is one level of expectations.
Mhm.
Then to dating is another level of expectations. If you put dating and you got some benefits going, that's another level of expectations. Then you get engaged is another level. Then married is another level because you're expecting that person to give just a little bit more, just a little bit more as you're essentially coming together and coming
Mhm.
together and coming together, and then enmeshing of that final tier.
I think that's the problem when you put you said you expecting a little more and a little more from the person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how good that is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel like being married to a person, yeah, the responsibilities can be different,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they can be the same
Right.
as the day before you got married.
Right.
Um, it doesn't always have to change.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people put too many expectations on
Mm-hmm.
their partners after the marriage. We
Mm.
married now, you got to do this.
Yeah.
What was wrong with what we was doing before? So,
And it boils down to that communication piece. Because, like, as a
mhm,
girlfriend, do I have to sit up with you at the hospital all the time? As a
mhm,
wife, you might be more compelled to do that. So, um, it's how well invested they are too in the commitment of the relationship or where it could go that causes them to give a lot, give a little, or give nothing at all. Because
mhm,
we've been in some situations where that person wasn't giving us nothing, but was giving us something, so it was okay.
mhm,
But we wanted more, and we had to speak up to be able to say, "Well, I do want you to reach out to me. I do want you to show care and concern for me if you really want to be with me." And
mhm,
sometimes we avoid that conversation for whatever the reason. But expectations for sure could get us in trouble if we're not speaking about what it is we're hoping for and wanting.
mhm.
Mm-mm-mm. So dating is important. Being upfront is important. When you think of marriage, who would you say have been your role models that help you or encourage you to say, "I might consider that"?
I don't have any. I want to try it out myself.
I love the answer because we can see other people, and so many times they're talking about like hashtag relationship goals, but that picture is only a snippet. It doesn't really tell the nitty gritty
Mm-hmm.
of what was going on, right?
Yep.
So
I want to make my own blueprint.
yes, and it's so important because what works for you might not work for somebody else. I was reading something, and so it's a couple. They went on vacation, and she forgot her breast pump. So he helped relieve her because her bosom had become so overwhelmed with things from carrying so much milk. And it then became a thing. They got closer by it. He does it on a norm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something that they do. That works for them. But what happened is somebody chose to leak it to the world or they shared it with the world. And the world was like, of how it's so bad. You
Mm-hmm.
have to for sure find out what works for you. You don't have to share it with the world. I think of Dwight Howard too. He got his little situation going on. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, what happens in my bedroom is my business. Absolutely. However, the challenge comes when somebody that was in the bedroom tells the tea, and
Mm-hmm.
now you feel like you have to speak up for yourself. It's okay for you to stand on what it is that you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
People are always going to say some good, bad, ugly. You can't ever please the people.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
that's
I don't have anybody like any marriages that I looked up to or said, oh, I wanna be like them. I want my marriage to go how theirs is going. I
mm-hmm,
never had that. All of the women in my family get married, right?
mm-hmm.
They don't stay married.
Um,
I don't
yeah,
know why, but they never stay married. They could get a man, but they
mm-hmm,
can't keep him.
mm,
So I wanna do my own thing. I wanna be my own goals. Try it
yeah,
out for my own self.
yeah. I say that too. My mom, she was a single mom when raising me. She didn't marry my dad. She had been married before, maybe twice. Um, and for whatever reasons, they didn't work out. Obviously, and then like she met my dad, got pregnant. Actually, she did get married after my dad. I'll never forget. I love him, Jerry Berthal. He was dope. Even when they didn't work out, he would still come over and check on me because I became his baby girl. Even I being his. Um, but that has always been a thing of mine where if I get married, I want it to be one time. We
Mhm.
doing this till death do us part, sunshine.
Mhm.
You go into that other room and figure it out, and then you come back over here because we're gonna work it out, which takes a lot of intentional communication, um, sacrifice a little bit, compromise a little bit, because it can't always be my way, right? So finding out what works for them, what works for me, what works for us, and with that, it causes me to be hesitant, try to be strategic, I guess, because I don't want to be in that situation either, divorce. I have some
Mhm.
siblings that have been married and got divorced. And for whatever reason, I get it. In the moment, it's a heap. You feel loved. That moment was great. No regrets for the moment, but just wish it could have lasted a little longer. I didn't want that to be for myself. So I want to be able to break the mold too, as you shared, of want to be married and stay married.
Mhm.
So one of us go.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't have to be on like the first free date because he did something crazy either, So many different things.
Yes. Yes.
um, because we all have the capacity to go left friends. But also being honest and again having that conversation, seeking professional support, going to counseling, doing premarital counseling. I'm a strong advocate for premarital counseling because I also think it helps us to have conversations we weren't thinking of having,
Mhm.
to talk about some things either we did really address, but our answers could change because I could say how you feeling, and you'll tell me you're feeling at ease, you're feeling content, and then I ask you 5 minutes from now, you're angry and furious. We're always changing. Our answers are changing. So that support to help guide us through that process as well.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful. One last question, I think. So, in speaking of dating and speaking of parenting, what would you say is a good mesh of introducing people to your daughter or your children, to encourage others? Because, like, growing up, you'd be like, "Oh, that's uncle. I got a whole bunch of uncles, man." So, what would you say is a good way of introducing significant others to your children in that process?
So like I said, when you want to be with a person,
Mm-hmm.
when you want a person around forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can be 1 month or 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say whenever you feel comfortable with this person and when this person makes you feel safe.
Ah.
If I don't feel safe around you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to bring my child around you.
Right.
Um, that's the advice I would give. Like you have to feel I gotta feel safe around you. Like
Yeah.
you have to be my safe space. Um, and I have to know that I think I want this person around. But
Mm-hmm.
the flip side to that is those conversations. Do you want me to be around?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just having those conversations about what the intent of the relationship is too.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I told the story. Two more questions. So, in the experience of falling in love, we can sometimes feel like we have a moment of blind and rose-colored glasses, seeing things. What would you share as words of wisdom of someone on the love train? Um, how to keep them balanced and clear in the decision that they're making of, yeah, I really love this person.
My advice. Hmm. Remember the whys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the honeymoon stage get tricky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I love him so much, but why?
Mm-hmm.
What boxes do we check for you?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and remembering your intent, like why are you dating this person? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's your intent?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can love a person and fall out of love with a person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Yeah.
so remembering the whys. Why do you love this person like you do?
Yeah.
And then if this person stops doing all the things that you like right now, are you still gonna love this person?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's good. The whys, because we'll say we love this person, but we're doing it because somebody else loves somebody. So we feel like we gotta have one up on them, or our friends are in a relationship. So I gotta have a relationship too, because misery loves
mhm,
company. So if I could get somebody and say that I love them, they can be like, "Oh, look at you," really
mhm,
knowing what our why is. Why do you love this person? What do they add?
what are
Because
they doing?
yeah, what are they? That's
If they
good.
stop doing it, are you gonna feel the same way?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if they used to rub your feet and now they don't rub your feet no more, are you okay?
Yeah, yeah. They might not feel like rubbing your feet no more.
They might
Girl, I
not.
done rubbed your feet for too long. Get out my
Yeah.
face.
Or you stop going to get them things clean and prettified, and they're like,
Yeah.
That's a good one. Do they still check your boxes? And when they stop checking your boxes, and that's in love and friendship as well, of all relationships. You know, I like to do evaluations for sure around my birthday, around a new year, as we're preparing for a new year, of should these people still be around me? Are they still bringing value to my life? And that's like, you know, on your job, they do the evaluation. I try to do the evaluation, one of the jobs too. Are you still fulfilling for me? But also for our friendships, are they still fulfilling for us? Are we giving what we need to give for them as well? Because again, we'll expect something and not giving it ourselves, and those expectations can get us in trouble too. So my last question. And what is something that you want us all to walk away with based on all that we shared, or something else in your heart to share about helping somebody find the perfect blend for them as they work to connect with others based on their family's attitudes and beliefs?
Share your story. Good, bad, or ugly. Share your story, because you never know who you can be helping. Offer your expertise, because we are all experts at something. Yeah, that's it.
And that's it.
Thank you for listening to the Blending Fab podcast. This podcast has been brought to you by our sponsor, Chosen Counselors. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Check out this snippet from our next episode.
He's giving me that look, or she's giving me that look. It means I'm crossing into a boundary that I need to make a stop for. And we usually will instantly, when we see that look, stop.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I hear you, and go on about your business.
Yeah. So we respect the individuality a lot. It's important. Yeah. We don't lose ourselves. So we know when it's me time and when it's us time.
Yes.
And that's a constant. That should go from beginning to end in the relationship, in the marriage. Yeah.
So the last thing you want to do is lose yourself within the relationship, because when you lose your individuality, a part of you gets altered that could end up altering the relationship.
Yeah.